The distress signal came through at 3 in the morning, ship time. Kong Tae-ho was sleeping in his pilot chair when the alarm pulled him awake. He rubbed his eyes and looked at the screen. The signal was weak. It came from somewhere in the dead zone between two star systems. No one went there. No one with any sense. Tae-ho was a salvage pilot. He flew alone through the outer rim, picking through old wrecks and abandoned stations. It was lonely work, but it paid enough to keep his small ship running. He had no family waiting for him anywhere, no friends who would notice if he disappeared. Just the stars and the silence. He almost ignored the signal. The dead zone was dangerous. Raiders hid there, pirates, worse things. But something made him stop. The signal pattern was strange. It was not a normal distress call. It was a child frequency. The Valari used special signals when children were in danger. He had learned this during his time in the military years ago. The Valari were not friends of humans. They were a proud warrior species. They stood 7 feet tall with silver-blue skin and 4 arms. They thought humans were weak, soft, not worth their time. Most humans stayed far away from Valari space. But a child was a child. Tae-ho changed course and flew toward the signal. It took 6 hours to reach the source. What he found made his stomach turn. A Valari cruiser floated in pieces among the asteroids. It had been a beautiful ship once. Now it was torn apart. Blast marks covered the hull. Bodies floated in the darkness of space. Raiders. They had hit hard and fast. The Valari never saw it coming. Tae-ho guided his ship closer. He scanned for life signs. Nothing, nothing, nothing. Then, one small blip, faint, fading. Coming from deep inside the broken ship, he should have left. The structure was unstable. It could collapse at any moment. If he got trapped inside, no one would come to save him. No one even knew he was here. But that small blip kept flashing on his screen. Someone was still alive in there. Tae-ho put on his suit and grabbed his medical kit. He had been a field medic in the military before he quit. He still remembered the training. He still remembered how to keep people alive when everything was falling apart. He entered the wreck through a hole in the side. Inside, the ship was dark. Emergency lights flickered red. The smell of burning and death filled the air even through his helmet filters. He moved carefully, stepping over broken metal and shattered glass. He found bodies along the way. Valari warriors, still holding their weapons. They had fought hard. It had not been enough. He said a quiet word for them and kept moving. The life sign led him deeper into the ship. The structure groaned around him. Metal screamed as it bent and twisted. He did not have much time. Finally, he found her. She was small. A Valari child, maybe equal to a human 6-year-old. She had the same silver-blue skin as her people, but softer, rounder. Her 4 small arms were wrapped around herself. A massive piece of metal had fallen across her legs. Blood pooled beneath her. Her eyes opened when she heard him approach. They were gold, like twin suns. They were filled with fear. Tae-ho knelt beside her. He did not know if she could understand him. He spoke anyway. "I am here to help," he said softly. "I will get you out." She stared at him. She had probably never seen a human before. He must have looked strange to her, weak. Only 2 arms, no claws, soft skin. But she did not scream. She did not fight him. "Mama," she whispered. Her voice was so small. "We will find your mama." Tae-ho lied. He had seen too many bodies, but he would not tell her that, not now. He examined the metal pinning her down. It was heavy, too heavy for him to lift alone. But he found a broken pipe nearby and used it as a lever. His muscles burned. His back screamed in pain. The metal shifted inch by inch. Above him, the ceiling cracked. He worked faster. The child whimpered. He talked to her the whole time. Nonsense words, gentle sounds, anything to keep her calm. Finally, the metal moved enough for him to pull her free. He checked her injuries. Her legs were broken. She was losing blood. He used supplies from his kit to stop the bleeding and stabilize the bones. Valari biology was different from human biology, but the basics were the same. Stop the bleeding, protect the wounds, keep the patient warm. He picked her up carefully. She weighed almost nothing in his arms. She wrapped her 4 small arms around his neck and buried her face against his shoulder. "Hold on to me," he said. "Do not let go." He ran. The ship was dying around him. Walls collapsed. Fire burst from broken pipes. He shielded her body with his own as debris rained down. Something sharp tore across his back. Something else hit his shoulder. He felt warm blood running down his skin inside his suit. He did not stop. The exit was ahead, the hole he had entered through. But the floor between him and the exit was breaking apart. He could see the stars through the gaps. One wrong step, and they would both fall into space. Tejo jumped. For one terrible moment, they were flying through the air. Then his boots hit solid metal on the other side. He stumbled but did not fall. Behind him, the floor gave way completely. The ship began its final collapse. He ran the last few meters and threw himself through the hole back into space. His ship was waiting. He activated his suit thrusters and flew toward the airlock. The child held onto him so tightly that her small claws broke through his suit fabric. They made it inside just as the Valari cruiser exploded behind them. Tejo fell to the floor of his airlock, the child still in his arms. His whole body was shaking. Blood dripped from his wounds onto the metal floor. But the child was alive. She was breathing. She was safe. "Mama," she said again, her golden eyes looking up at him. Tejo held her close. He did not know how to find her mother. He did not know if her mother was even alive. But he knew one thing for certain. He would not let this child die. He carried her to his small medical bay and began working through the night. Her injuries were severe. His supplies were meant for humans, not Valari. But he adapted. He improvised. He used everything he knew and everything he could guess. 3 times during the night, her heart stopped. 3 times he brought her back. By morning, she was stable. She was sleeping peacefully for the first time. Tejo sat beside her bed, covered in blood, hers and his own. His wounds were untreated. His body was exhausted, but he could not stop watching her breathe. He did not know her name. He did not know where she came from. He only knew that she had called for her mother in the darkness, and he had answered. Outside the window, the stars continued their eternal dance, uncaring and cold. But inside this small ship, warmth existed. A human and an alien child, alone in the universe, surviving together. Tejo finally allowed himself to close his eyes. They would figure out the rest tomorrow. 3 days passed. The child's name was Nuri. She told Tejo this on the 2nd day when she finally woke up properly. She was weak, but alive. Her golden eyes followed him everywhere as he moved around the small ship. Tejo learned that she was curious about everything. She asked about his food. She asked about his music. She asked why he only had 2 arms and how he did anything with so few. He answered her questions as best as he could. He made her laugh by pretending his 2 arms were confused about what to do. He did not tell her about her mother. He did not tell her about the bodies he had seen. Every time she asked about her mama, he simply said, "We will find her." It was not exactly a lie. He had sent out signals on all Valari frequencies. Someone would come eventually. His own wounds were getting worse. The cuts on his back had become infected. He had a fever that would not break. But the medical supplies he had were for Nuri. He could not waste them on himself. So he ignored the pain and kept taking care of her. On the 3rd day, his sensors screamed a warning. Ships, many ships, dropping out of hyperspace all around him. Tejo's blood went cold. He looked at the screen and saw 12 Valari warships surrounding his tiny vessel. They were massive. Each one was 100 times the size of his ship. Their weapons were aimed directly at him. He was going to die. A communication signal came through. He answered it. A Valari face appeared on his screen. It was a male warrior with scars across his face and hatred in his eyes. "Human," the warrior spat. "You are in possession of Valari property. Prepare to be boarded. Any resistance will result in your immediate death." The signal cut off. Tai-Ho looked at Nuri. She was watching him with big, scared eyes. She did not understand what was happening, but she could feel his fear. "It is okay," he told her. "Your people are here. They will take you home." "What about you?" she asked. Tai-Ho did not answer. Minutes later, his airlock was forced open. Valari warriors poured into his ship, weapons drawn. They were huge, towering over him. They grabbed him and threw him against the wall. He did not fight back. He could not win against them even if he tried. Then she entered. Tai-Ho knew immediately that she was someone important. She was taller than the others, almost 7.5 feet. Her silver-blue skin was darker, like deep ocean water. She wore armor that looked like it had seen 100 battles. Her forearms moved with deadly grace. Her eyes were the same gold as Nuri's, but colder, harder. She looked at Tai-Ho like he was an insect. "Where is she?" the female demanded. Her voice was ice. Tai-Ho pointed toward the back of the ship. "Medical bay. She is stable. Her legs were broken, but I set the bones. She lost a lot of blood, but—" The female was already moving. She pushed past her warriors and disappeared into the medical bay. Tai-Ho heard a sound he did not expect. A cry. Not of anger, but of relief, of love. "Mama!" Nuri's voice came from inside. "Mama, you came!" Tai-Ho closed his eyes. At least the child would be okay. The warriors kept him pinned against the wall. They were waiting for orders, probably orders to kill him. Humans were not welcome in Valari space. Humans who touched Valari children were probably killed slowly. Long minutes passed. Then the female emerged from the medical bay. She was carrying Nuri in 2 of her arms. The child was clinging to her, crying happily, but the female's eyes were fixed on Tai-Ho. She walked toward him slowly. Her warriors moved aside. She stopped directly in front of him and looked down. At this distance, he could see every detail of her face. She was beautiful in a terrifying way, like a storm or a blade. "You are the one who took her from the wreck," she said. It was not a question. Tai-Ho nodded. "The ship was collapsing. You went inside anyway." "Yes." "She was injured. You treated her wounds." "Yes." The female's eyes narrowed. "Why?" Tai-Ho blinked. "What? Why did you save her? She is Valari. You are human. Our species are not allies. You had nothing to gain. You could have died. Why did you risk your life for a child not your own?" Tai-Ho thought about the question. He did not have a complicated answer. The truth was simple. "She was scared," he said quietly. "She was calling for her mother. I could not leave her there." The female stared at him. Something changed in her golden eyes. The ice cracked, just a little. "He was nice to me, Mama," Nuri said, her small voice interrupting. "He gave me food and told me stories. He said we would find you. He promised." The female looked at her daughter, then back at Tai-Ho. She noticed something. Her eyes moved to his shoulder where blood was showing through his shirt. She looked at his face, seeing the fever sweat, the pale skin, the dark circles under his eyes. "You are injured," she said. "It is nothing." "You are lying." She turned to one of her warriors. "When was the last time this human received medical treatment?" The warrior checked a scanner. "His wounds are 3 days old, severe infection. He will die within hours without treatment." The female's expression hardened. "He neglected his own injuries to care for my daughter." Tai-Ho swayed on his feet. The room was spinning. He had pushed himself too far. His body was finally giving up. "Human," the female said. Her voice sounded far away. "What is your name?" "Kang Tai-Ho," he managed to say. I am Riva, High Commander of the Velari Third Fleet. You saved my bloodline, my only child. She paused. I do not understand you, but I will not let you die. She turned to her warriors. Bring him to my ship. Take him to the medical bay. Treat his wounds. Full care. The same as you would give any Velari. The warriors looked shocked. One of them stepped forward. Commander, he is human. Our laws say— I know what our laws say, Riva cut him off. Her voice was dangerous now. Our laws also say that one who saves a child of noble blood is owed a debt. This human is owed a debt by my house. He will be treated with honor until that debt is repaid. Anyone who disagrees can challenge me personally. No one challenged her. Teho felt hands lifting him, not rough anymore. Careful. His vision was fading. The last thing he saw before darkness took him was Riva's face, the High Commander, the warrior, the mother, and in her golden eyes he saw something that might have been respect. When he woke, he would be in a different world, a world of alien warriors and ancient laws, a world where he did not belong, but he would be alive. And Nuri would be safe with her mother. For now, that was enough. Taiho let the darkness take him, and for the first time in 3 days, he rested. Teho woke in a bed that was too big for him. The ceiling above was high and dark, made of metal that gleamed like polished stone. The air smelled different here, cleaner, sharper. He was not on his ship anymore. He tried to sit up and was surprised to find that nothing hurt. He looked at his shoulder. The wound was gone. Not healed, but gone completely, as if it had never existed. He touched his back where the deep cuts had been. Smooth skin, no scars. Velari medicine was impressive. The door to his room opened. Riva entered, her 4 arms clasped behind her back. She looked different without her armor, smaller somehow, though she was still a giant compared to him. She wore simple dark clothes. Her silver blue skin caught the soft light. You are awake, she said. Good. You slept for 2 days. Teho swung his legs over the side of the bed. Where am I? My flagship, the Starfall. Riva moved to stand near the window. Outside, stars drifted past slowly. You are my guest. Guest or prisoner? Something like amusement flickered across her face. Guest. Though I understand if you cannot tell the difference. You will not be harmed here, Kang Teho. You have my word. Teho stood up carefully. His body felt strange, strong, better than it had felt in years. Thank you for saving my life. You saved my daughter's life first. The debt is not yet balanced. Teho frowned. I did not save her to get something in return. I know. That is what confuses me. Riva turned to face him fully. Her golden eyes studied him like he was a puzzle she could not solve. The Velari do not act without purpose. Every action has a reason, a gain, a strategy, but you humans— She shook her head. You run into fire for strangers. You give your food to others when you are hungry. You risk everything for nothing. Maybe that is the purpose, Teho said quietly. Maybe helping others is the reason itself. Riva was silent for a long moment. Then she said, You will stay here for now. By our law, one who saves a noble bloodline is bound to that house until the debt is properly repaid. I cannot simply let you go. My people would see it as an insult to you. And if I want to leave, then you may leave whenever you wish. I will not hold you against your will, but I am asking you to stay, at least for a while. She paused. My daughter asks about you every hour. She calls you her brave human. She wants to see you. Teho felt something warm in his chest. I would like to see her too. And so Teho stayed. The first weeks were strange. The Velari did not know what to do with him. He was small by their standards, weak, fragile. He had no claws, no armor skin, no extra arms. The warriors on the ship looked at him with suspicion. Some looked at him with open disgust. But yHe did not hide in his room. He walked the ship. He learned the layout. He watched the Velari work and fight and live. He asked questions. He listened to answers. He remembered names. Nuri became his shadow. Wherever he went, she followed. She showed him her favorite places on the ship. She introduced him to her tutors, her guards, her pets. She held his hand with two of her small arms and chattered endlessly about everything and nothing. The crew did not know what to make of this either. The daughter of their high commander, beloved of a human. It was unthinkable. But Nuri did not care about their opinions. She only cared that her brave human was there with her. One day, yHe asked if he could watch the warriors train. The request caused a stir. No outsider had ever been allowed in the training hall. But Riva gave permission. The training hall was massive. Velari warriors sparred with blades and bare hands. They moved like dancers, fast and deadly. yHe watched from the side, fascinated. A warrior named Kova approached him. Kova was young, proud, and did not like humans. He looked down at yHe with contempt. "You want to train with us, human?" Kova asked loudly. The hall fell silent. Everyone was watching. "Or are you too scared?" yHe knew this was a test. If he refused, they would never respect him. If he accepted, he would probably get hurt. He thought about it for exactly 2 seconds. "I will train," he said. Kova smiled. It was not a kind smile. The first match lasted 30 seconds. Kova threw yHe across the room like a toy. yHe hit the ground hard enough to see stars. The warriors laughed. yHe stood up. The second match lasted 40 seconds. Kova hit him in the chest with 2 fists at once. yHe flew backward and crashed into the wall. His ribs screamed in pain. The warriors laughed louder. yHe stood up again. The third match, Kova hesitated. Just for a moment. He had expected the human to stay down. yHe used that moment to land his first hit, a quick jab to Kova's throat. It did almost no damage, but it surprised everyone, including Kova. The match ended with yHe on the ground again, but he had drawn blood, just a little scratch on Kova's neck. The hall was silent now. "Why do you keep getting up?" Kova demanded. "You cannot win. You know you cannot win." yHe spat blood onto the floor and smiled. "Because getting up is the only thing I know how to do." He came back the next day, and the day after that. He lost every single match. He was thrown, kicked, punched, and knocked down more times than he could count. But he kept getting up. He kept coming back. Slowly, the laughter stopped. Slowly, something else took its place. Respect. The warriors began to teach him instead of just beating him. They showed him how to move, how to block, how to use his smaller size as an advantage. He would never be as strong as them, but he could be fast. He could be clever. He could survive. Riva watched all of this. She watched her warriors change their opinion of the human. She watched her daughter grow more attached to him every day. And she felt something changing in herself, too. One evening, she invited yHe to dinner. Just the two of them. The food was strange but good. The wine was strong. "Tell me about your world," Riva said. "Tell me about Earth." So yHe told her. He told her about blue skies and green forests, about oceans that stretched forever and mountains that touched the clouds, about cities full of millions of people and small villages where everyone knew each other's names. "It sounds beautiful," Riva said softly. "It was. It is." yHe looked out the window at the stars. "I have not been back in years." "Why did you leave?" "I did not belong there anymore. I left the military and found that I had nowhere to go, no family, no purpose. So I took my ship and flew away." He shrugged. "I have been running ever since." Riva was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Perhaps you were not running. Perhaps you were searching." "Searching for what?" "A place to belong." Taeho looked at her. The High Commander, the mother, the warrior who had chosen to save him when she could have let him die. He did not know what to say. But maybe he did not need to say anything. Maybe, for the first time in years, he was exactly where he needed to be. The trouble began with a name. Commander Orin of the Fifth Fleet called Taeho a parasite. He said it loudly, in front of witnesses at a gathering of fleet commanders. He said that Riva had shamed her bloodline by keeping a human in her house. He said that the great warrior tradition of the Valari was being polluted by weakness. Riva's hand went to her blade, but before she could speak, another commander stepped between them. The law was clear. Insults of this nature required a formal response. Either Riva could challenge Orin herself, or the accused must prove his worth in combat. If Taeho could not fight, he would be executed. The news spread through the fleet like fire. Taeho heard about it from Kova, who came to his quarters with a face like stone. Orin is a blade master, Kova said. He has killed 30 opponents in formal combat. He has never lost. Taeho nodded slowly. I understand. You will die. Probably. You could run. Take your ship and leave before the challenge date. No one would blame you. Taeho thought about it. He could run. He could fly back into the darkness between stars and forget all of this. He could survive. But then he thought about Nuri. He thought about her small hands holding his, her golden eyes full of trust. He thought about what it would do to her if he just disappeared. He thought about Riva, about the respect she had shown him, about the way she looked at him now like he was something more than a weak human. Something valuable. If he ran, he would prove Orin right. He would prove that humans were cowards. He would undo everything he had built here. I will not run, Taeho said. Kova stared at him for a long moment. Then he did something unexpected. He bowed his head, a sign of respect among the Valari. Then I will help you prepare, Kova said. You will still probably die. But you will die as a warrior. The challenge was set for 7 days later. Taeho trained every waking hour. Kova taught him everything he knew about fighting larger opponents. Other warriors joined in, offering their own techniques and advice. Even those who had once mocked him now wanted to help. Riva came to watch him train on the 5th day. She stood at the edge of the hall with her arms crossed, her face unreadable. When the session ended, she approached him. You do not have to do this, she said quietly. I can challenge Orin in your place. The law allows it. Taeho shook his head. If you fight for me, everyone will say the human needed a woman to protect him. They will never respect me. They will never respect you for keeping me. I do not care what they say. Yes, you do. And you should. You are a high commander. Your reputation matters. Taeho looked into her golden eyes. Let me do this. Let me prove that I belong here. Riva was silent. Then she reached out with one hand and touched his face, her fingers cool against his cheek. Stubborn human, she said softly. Stubborn is all I have. The day of the challenge arrived. The combat hall was filled with spectators from a dozen ships. Every commander in the region had come to watch. Nuri was there too, held back by guards, her small face tight with fear. Orin stood in the center of the ring. He was massive, even by Valari standards. His 4 arms were thick with muscle. His armor was covered with marks of his victories. He looked at Taeho like he was looking at already dead meat. This will be quick, Orin announced to the crowd. The human will learn the price of pretending to be something he is not. Taeho said nothing. He stepped into the ring wearing simple training clothes. No armor. The crowd murmured. Was the human so arrogant or so foolish? The signal was given. The fight began. Orin did not wait. He charged forward with all the speed of a trained killer. His first blow would have taken off Taeho's head if it had connected, but Taeho was not there. He ducked under the strike and rolled to the side. The crowd gasped. The human was fast. Orin attacked again and again. Each strike was powerful enough to break bones. Each strike hit nothing but air. Taeho moved constantly, never staying in one place, never giving Orin a clean target. But he could not keep dodging forever. Orin caught him with a kick that sent him flying across the ring. Taeho hit the ground hard and tasted blood. He rolled to his feet just in time to avoid a stomp that cracked the floor. "Stay still and die with honor," Orin roared. Taeho spat blood and smiled. "Where is the fun in that?" The fight continued. Taeho was hit again and again. His body screamed with pain. But every time he fell, he got back up. Every time Orin thought he was finished, he found more strength. And he started to fight back. Small hits. Quick strikes to joints and pressure points. Nothing that could seriously hurt Orin, but enough to annoy him. Enough to make him angry. Enough to make him sloppy. Orin became frustrated. His attacks grew wilder. He was not used to opponents who refused to die. He was not used to being made to look foolish. Taeho waited for his moment. It came when Orin overextended on a massive punch. Taeho did not dodge this time. He stepped into the blow, letting it graze his shoulder while he grabbed Orin's arm. Using Orin's own momentum against him, Taeho twisted and pulled. Orin stumbled. Taeho moved faster than he ever had before. He jumped onto Orin's back, wrapped his arms around the massive neck, and squeezed. His legs locked around Orin's body to keep him from being thrown off. Orin roared and thrashed. He slammed backward into the walls, trying to crush Taeho. Pain exploded through Taeho's body. He felt ribs crack. He felt his vision going dark, but he did not let go. "Yield!" Taeho gasped through bloody teeth. "Yield and live!" Orin's struggles grew weaker. His face was turning dark. He could not breathe. The hall was completely silent. No one could believe what they were seeing. "Yield!" Orin finally choked out. Taeho released him and fell to the ground. He could not move. Everything hurt. But he was alive. He had won. The hall erupted. Warriors who had never spoken to him were chanting his name. Kova was shouting with joy, and Nuri broke free from her guards and ran to him, throwing herself onto him and crying. "You did it!" she sobbed. "My brave human, you did it!" Taeho held her with arms that felt like broken glass. He looked up and saw Riva standing at the edge of the ring. There were tears on her face. High Commander Riva, terror of 3-star systems, was crying. She walked toward him slowly. The crowd parted for her. She knelt beside him and touched his bloody face with gentle hands. "You impossible creature," she whispered. "You magnificent, impossible creature." Taeho tried to smile. "Does this mean I can stay?" Riva laughed. It was a beautiful sound, like stars being born. "You can stay forever," she said. And in that moment, surrounded by aliens who had become his friends, holding a child who loved him, looking into the eyes of a woman who saw his worth, Taeho felt something he had not felt in years. He felt like he was home. 6 weeks had passed since the challenge. Taeho's body had healed completely, thanks to Valari medicine. But more than his body had changed. Everything had changed. He walked through the corridors of the Starfall, and people nodded to him, not with suspicion or disgust, but with respect. Warriors stopped to talk with him. Engineers asked for his opinion. Even the cooks had learned to make human food for him, though they thought it was bland and strange. Nuri had started calling him Uncle Tae. She followed him everywhere when she was not in her lessons. She demanded bedtime stories about Earth, about humans, about the brave people who flew among the stars with only 2 arms and soft skin. She wanted to visit Earth someday. She wanted to meet other humans. She wanted to learn everything. And then there was Riva. Something had shifted between them after the challenge. The High Commander, who had once looked at him with confusion, now looked at him with something warmer. They spent evenings together talking about their lives, their worlds, their dreams. She told him about losing her husband in a war 3 years ago. He told her about never having a family at all. They did not name what was growing between them, but they both felt it. One morning, yHe received word that his ship had been fully repaired. New parts, new systems. Better than it had ever been. A gift from Riva's house. He went to the hangar bay to see it. His little salvage vessel looked almost new. Someone had even polished it. A Valari engineer was finishing the last touches. "She flies better than before," the engineer said. "Full fuel cells, 6 months of supplies. You could go anywhere." yHe touched the hull of his ship. This vessel had been his home for years, his only companion in the darkness between stars. It held everything he owned, everything he was. He could leave now. The debt was paid. He had proven himself. No one would stop him. He thought about Earth, about human cities, about familiar faces and familiar food and familiar stars. He thought about the life he had left behind. The life that had pushed him away. The life that had never wanted him. Then he thought about Nuri's laugh, about Kova's training sessions, about shared meals with warriors who had become friends, about evenings with Riva, watching the stars through her window, feeling less alone than he had ever felt. He thought about belonging. The hangar bay doors opened behind him. He turned and saw Nuri running toward him, her 4 small arms pumping as she ran. Behind her, walking slowly, was Riva. Nuri crashed into his legs and hugged him tight. "Uncle Tay, they said your ship was ready. They said you might leave." She looked up at him with those golden eyes, now filled with fear. "You are not leaving, are you? You promised you would teach me to play that card game. You promised you would tell me more stories. You promised." yHe knelt down to her level. "I did promise those things. Did I not? You cannot break promises. Mama says that people who break promises have no honor." yHe smiled. "Your mama is very wise." Riva reached them. She did not say anything. She just stood there, watching him with an expression she was trying to keep neutral and failing. He could see the tension in her shoulders, the tightness around her eyes. She was afraid. The High Commander of the Valari Third Fleet, terror of 3 star systems, was afraid that a small human would fly away and never come back. yHe stood up. He looked at his ship, then back at Riva. "I need to go inside," he said. Something flickered across Riva's face, pain, quickly hidden. "Of course. It is your ship. Your choice." Nuri made a small sound of protest. Riva put 2 hands on her daughter's shoulders, holding her back. yHe walked to his ship and climbed inside. He moved through the small spaces that had been his world for so long. He touched the pilot chair where he had slept, the small kitchen where he had eaten alone, the medical bay where he had saved Nuri's life. He found what he was looking for, a small box hidden under the floor panels. Inside were a few things from Earth, a photograph of his parents, long dead, a medal from his military service, a small stone from a river near his childhood home. He took the box and walked back outside. Riva had not moved. Nuri was crying silently, trying to be brave. The engineers had stopped working, watching the scene. yHe walked past his ship. He walked past the engineers. He walked straight to Riva and stopped in front of her. "I have spent my whole life looking for something," he said. "A place where I mattered, a place where I belonged. I searched on Earth and did not find it. I searched among the stars and did not find it." He paused. "I was not searching anymore when I found that wrecked ship. When I found Nuri, when I found you, I had given up." He held up the small box. "This is everything I have from my old life. everything that connects me to Earth, everything that made me who I was. Riva looked at the box, then at him. I do not understand. A Velari warrior once told me that actions must have purpose, that everything should have meaning. Taiho smiled. I am not leaving, Riva. I am staying, and I want you to keep this, as a promise that I will never leave, that my place is here, with your crew, with Nuri. With you. Nuri burst into tears of joy and threw herself at him. Taiho caught her and lifted her up, holding her close. She wrapped all 4 arms around his neck and squeezed so tight he could barely breathe. Riva stood frozen. She looked at the box in his hands. Then she looked at his face. The mask she wore, the cold commander, the fearless warrior, it cracked. And behind it was just a woman, a mother, someone who had been alone for too long. She took the box with trembling hands. Then she reached out with her other 2 arms and pulled both Taiho and Nuri into an embrace. You stupid, wonderful human, she whispered against his hair. Do you know what you are doing? You are binding yourself to a warrior house, to a dangerous life, to enemies who will hate you simply for existing. I know, Taiho said. You could have peace, safety, a normal human life. I do not want a normal life. I want this life, this family. Riva pulled back and looked at him. Her golden eyes were wet. The terror of 3 star systems had tears running down her silver-blue cheeks. Then welcome home, Kang Taiho, she said. Welcome to House Riva. Welcome to our family. The hangar bay erupted in cheers. Taiho had not noticed, but a crowd had gathered. Warriors he had trained with, engineers who had fixed his ship, officers who had watched him prove himself day after day. They were cheering for him, for the human who had become one of them. Kova pushed through the crowd and clapped him on the shoulder hard enough to hurt. You know this means you have to keep training, right? You are representing Velari honor now. Taiho laughed. I would expect nothing less. Later that night, after the celebrations had quieted and Nuri had finally fallen asleep, Taiho stood at the observation window. Riva found him there, staring out at the endless stars. She stood beside him, close enough that their shoulders almost touched. Do you regret it? She asked. Giving up your ship? Your freedom? Taiho thought about it. He thought about all the years he had spent alone, all the nights with no one to talk to, all the mornings wondering what the point of it all was. I was free before, he said finally. Free to go anywhere, free to do anything. But I had nothing, no one. Freedom without purpose is just emptiness. He turned to look at her. Here, I have purpose. I have people who care about me. I have something worth protecting. Riva reached out and took his hand. Her skin was cool against his. Her fingers were longer, stronger, but they held his gently. You humans are strange, she said. You are small and weak and short-lived. You have no claws, no armor, no natural weapons. By all logic, you should have been destroyed long ago. And yet here we are. And yet here you are. She smiled. It was still rare to see her smile, and every time felt like a gift. Perhaps that is what makes you special. You survive not because of what you have, but because of what you refuse to give up. Taiho squeezed her hand. I refuse to give up a lot of things. This ship, this crew. Nuri. He paused. You. Riva turned to face him fully. The starlight made her silver-blue skin glow. Her golden eyes held his, searching, hoping. You should be careful, human, she said softly. Saying things like that to a Velari woman has consequences. I think I can handle the consequences. She leaned down and pressed her forehead against his, a Velari gesture of deep affection. They stood there for a long moment, breathing the same air, feeling each other's heartbeat. My strange, brave human, she whispered. What am I going to do with you? Taiho smiled. Keep me, I hope. Outside the window, the universe continued its ancient dance. Stars were born and died. Empires rose and fell. Time flowed on like a river without end. But inside this ship, in this moment, two souls from different worlds had found each other. A human who had been searching for belonging, an alien who had forgotten how to hope, and a little girl with golden eyes who had brought them together by calling for her mother in the darkness. Some stories end with great battles, with victories over evil, with heroes riding into sunset. This story ended with something simpler, something rarer. It ended with a family, and sometimes that is the greatest adventure of all.